Welcome to book club. Welcome to book club. Power of Consent. We're gonna recap over what we were reading. We were reading about the private bankers last Thursday, and just a brief recap. Kennedy on how money is created, how it works. We even got a questionnaire quiz that we're going to do, but I'm not going to drop that on us today. I think we'll leave that until next Thursday because we're almost finishing this book. So the things that we touched on last week was the creation of money. Why was men like John Fitzgerald Kennedy assassinated? Because he created his own money, which was not backed or borrowed from the Federal Reserve, but was created by the US government. I want you to keep in mind the Federal Reserve. The Federal Reserve is what? Similar to this, the FBI, Federal Bureau of Investigation, crucial part of the US federal government. In acting as a principal federal law enforcement agency and domestic intelligence service, it is an agency within the Department of Justice and reports to both Attorney General and Director of National Intelligence. Now, for those of you who do know, you can jump in and tell me, what's the difference between the federal government, yeah, and what you have in terms of state legislation? What's the difference? The federal government is actually the same as what you call as the Federal Reserve, which is a private banking institution. Private meaning it's not owned by the public. The Bank of England is also private or public? That's a question I'm going to put to the space. Welcome, everyone. Welcome, Pauline White. Again, Pauline, yes, Pauline, want to talk to you about what you was doing.
Private. It's private, but it operates publicly.
There you go. Is that the Bank of England, Fred, or what are we talking about here?
Yeah, the Bank of England is a private institution that operates publicly.
See, the double speak that they put in there? Exactly, people. So it's private, as is the Federal Reserve. So this whole, now, a lot of us have been trying to ignore this whole thing, yeah, with P. Diddy, but who has subpoenaed or summoned P. Diddy and Cassie Ventura to court? Can anyone tell me real quick? We're just doing a quick recap it's the federal government. The federal government versus P. Diddy. It's a trial, it's a criminal case. So it's not a DV case. It is a one that is called trafficking, RICO charges. I don't know if anyone's ever heard of the RICO charges and what is called the Mann Act. I'm going to quickly show you real quick. This is a quick recap and it's going to tie it all together. But it's so important that we understand these things. The Mann Act, yeah? The Mann Act. Guess when the Mann Act started, people? Guess when it started? It started off because of the fear of a man called Jack Johnson. The Mann Act is a United States federal, there's that word again, law that makes it crime to transport women and men across state lines into foreign countries for the purpose of prostitution and other illegal sexual acts, originally passed in 1910 as the White Slave Traffic Act. Please keep that in mind regarding this whole circus that you're seeing. It was formerly called the White Slave Traffic Act. It was named after Congressman James Robert Mann of Illinois, Chicago. The act has been amended over the years to clarify its scope, and it expands to application to include boys and other forms of illegal sexual activity. So all of that, what you're seeing with P. Diddy, all of that what you're seeing is the federal government and the FBI. Now this week, it was the birthday of the great Malcolm X. Now, you've got to understand this. The federal government and the FBI have not been friends of the people. They're not friends of John Lennon. They're not friends of Malcolm X. They're not friends of anyone who wanted to uplift the people. There was the Black Panther Party, but did you know there's also the White Panther Party that worked alongside the Black Panther Party for the good of the people? So the federal government sent their agents to spy in on movements that were progressive to help people come up. So keep that in mind. The federal government who are summoning, subpoenaing Cassie and the whole lot. It's all entertainment to a lot of people, as we can see on social media, but I'm telling you, it's very serious. They want to get P. Diddy on the Mann Act, the Mann Act of 1910 for trafficking. I asked the question, crime has to have a victim. Who are the victims? Who are the victims? We have to find who are the victims. And if there's no victims, then there's a potential for mistrial and that. And that's just me saying that. That's, that's the law. I'm not taking any sides on anything on that matter. For the record, no. I'm just stating the fact that the Federal Bureau of Investigation, the federal government are not the friends of the people. Now, again, let's just recap over what we saw last week regarding P. Diddy. P. Diddy. Hitler, all right? Hitler rose Germany from the ashes. There was a treaty, and I know Fred's memory is better than mine. There was a treaty called the Treaty of Versailles. Is that the right pronouncement? If I haven't, please forgive me.
The Treaty of Versailles.
Versailles. Thank you, my good brother. The Treaty of Versailles was a peace agreement signed on June 28, 1990, officially ended in World War I between Germany and Allied powers. It was signed at the Palace of Versailles, exactly 5 years after the assassination that sparked the war. The treaty imposed harsh conditions on Germany, including territorial losses, financial reparations, and the war guilt. They had to pay out people. Germany was in serious insolvency. Germany was in serious debt. So this man, Hitler, or devil, was on Time magazine. He was lauded. And there's an old saying in studying of politics that if the beginning of the study of politics is to study Hitler. I'm going to say that again. The beginning of the studies of politics is to study Hitler. Why? Every single MP, member of parliament, member of Congress, member of the Senate studies Hitler. So yes, he's evil, but they study him. Why? Because he was a genius in what he done. Not laudatory of the evil, wicked crimes he did. Obviously, we condemn that. However, they study him because he rose Germany from economic death. Check it out.
Party, or better known as the Nazis.
Please let me know if you can hear or can't hear it.
The charging of
Yeah, we can hear it. Now we can't hear it.
Volume's gone.
Can anyone tell me what usury is? Sorry, usury. What is usury? Because we're living under usury right now. What is usury?
Interest is charging money for money.
Right. Usury in a lot of countries is unlawful and illegal, especially in Muslim countries, especially under Christian countries, Jewish companies. Usury is against biblical and Quranic principle. It keeps people in debt.
Usury is actually a bit more than interest. It's like it's charging like a periodic fee based on a percentage of the amount borrowed on a regular basis, whether that be monthly, daily, yearly, whatever.
Exactly.
Because you can charge a fee. If I lend you some money, say it's going to cost you £10 for me to borrow you £100. That's a one-off fee. That's not usury. But if I say every month you owe me this money, it's £10, you're going to have to pay me. That's usury.
There you go. There you go. Exactly. Usury, the action and the practice of lending money at an unreasonable high rates of interest. So, for example, they encourage people to buy houses in America at one point at low interest rate. Then the bankers, central banks, put their interest up. See? Perpetual debt. Yes, Fred, that's so right, bro. Let's carry on playing this.
Point of interest, there's no volume.
Tell me if you can hear it or can't hear it. All right. Let me know if you can hear it.
Can't hear any sound on that.
I'm gonna play it. I'm gonna play it. Sorry. Hold on. Let me know. Let me know if I. Let's go there.
Still nothing. Yeah, still nothing. Can't hear anything.
Hitler believed that this was usury, which is defined as the illegal action lending money at unreasonably high rates of interest.
Hear it.
Nazis increased state control over the banking sector and abolished all. So why was Hitler so deeply against private banking? Aristotle said, "Men called bankers you shall hate, for they enrich themselves while doing nothing." The money system of the Roman era are divided into 3 time periods: the Copper Age, the Silver Age, and the Gold Age. In the early days of the Roman era, the first form of money used was the pound. This was known as the barter system. People used to exchange cows for other goods and services. As time went on, the Romans took to use lumps of copper or bronze instead of cattle. These lumps were irregular in size and shape and were called "ais rud," which translates to rough metal. These lumps had to be weighed for each transaction. Using this monetary system, Rome became one of the most prosperous cities in the ancient world. The rough copper was eventually replaced by bronze and was stamped and issued by the Roman treasury in the form of ingots weighing 3.5 pounds. This money can be considered as an early example of the successful use of fiat money. Many economists argue that fiat money, as long as it's issued by a government and not private bankers and is protected against counterfeiters, is the safest form of money. Non-fiat money, in contrast, has the serious drawback that whoever sets the price of gold and silver, for example, private bankers, can control the nation's economy. Mayer Amschel Rothschild once said, "Permit me to issue and control the money of a nation, and I care not who writes its laws." Up until 300 BC, with this system, there was unprecedented increase in the public and private wealth of the Romans. And here's the most interesting part. Throughout all of the wars that occurred throughout this period, there was zero inflation. Then came the Silver Age. This was when money lending became common practice in the Roman Empire. At this time, Julius Caesar was the leader of the Roman Republic. On his return to Italy in September 45 BC, Caesar found the streets and cities crowded with homeless people who had been forced off the land by moneylenders and land monopolists. 300,000 people had to be fed daily at the public granary. Usury, aka unfair money lending, was flourishing with disastrous consequences. The moneylenders were charging interest rates as high as 48% per year. At that time, there were two main political parties. The Optimates, centered around nobility, the Senate, and the privileged few, and the Populares, who represented the citizens. Caesar immediately assumed leadership of the Populares. According to the book Sketch from Roman History, quote, Caesar fully understood the evils of usury and how to counter them. He recognized the profound truth that money is a national agent created by law for a national purpose, and that no classes of men should withhold it from circulation so as to cause panics. Julius Caesar introduced many different laws and regulations to fight usury, one of the most significant being that the total interest charged could never exceed the capital loan.
And they paint Julius Caesar as some tyrant as well, complete tyrant.
These policies and changes enraged the moneylenders. They couldn't let this stand. On March 15th, 24 BC, Julius Caesar arrived at the Senate building unarmed, having dismissed his military guard, who had previously been by his side at all times. Surrounded by 60 conspirators, Caesar was stabbed to death 23 times. After Caesar's death in 27 BC, just 3 years later, the Roman Empire adopted the gold standard, and once again, the practice of usury became widespread. The decline of one of the greatest empires in history can be traced back to this very practice of unfair money lending by a few wealthy families. The empire had now switched to the gold standard, which was extremely difficult to sustain. The gold coin was incredibly rare in Rome, with just a few mines in all of Europe at the time. Gold had to be imported from the east, requiring a large and expensive army to do so, which led to continuous conflicts at the empire's borders. Since this gold was so rare, regular families began struggling to survive and were forced to turn to the moneylenders. Knowing they had the economy in their pockets now, the moneylenders started charging even more interest on the loans, draining the populace and accumulating all of the wealth in the hands of a few. Since nearly all of the wealth was concentrated in the hands of a few, the wealth couldn't be circulated or invested in productive activities. This lack of investment and circulation of money led to little to no growth in the Roman economy from then onward. Why? Because very little money was available for activities like trade, infrastructure development, and military expenditure, all of which have positive impacts on economies. In the later stages of the empire, these economic issues, compounded by usury, were accompanied by political instability, invasions, and a decline of public morale and civic responsibility. The combination of an economy crippled by debt, concentration of wealth in the hands of a few, and external pressures eventually led to the collapse of the Western Roman Empire in 476 AD. Now we know how usury affected the Roman Empire, but this wasn't a singular phenomenon. Usury has been the driving force to enslave and indebt the people of an economy every single time, leading to a great crash, which we call recessions or depressions. This system is still thriving today throughout the world. This is the major factor in why we see cycles of economic prosperity and failure. This is why the world experiences a recession cycle every 8 to 12 years. It wasn't just Rome, it was ancient Greece, medieval Islamic caliphates.
I just want to quickly point out that Rome Their emblem is the eagle. What is the emblem of, okay, and what was the emblem of Germany? Real quick, somebody tell me. What's the emblem? Yeah? The emblem is the eagle, right? USA, the emblem is the eagle. So what you're looking at is a continuance of the Roman Empire today through Germany, which is the father country. I didn't say that, England said that. And America is the baby of Germany and what country? Who's the mother of England, America? Huh? Come on,
Must
tell
be
me.
Britain.
Britain is the mother, Germany is the daddy. The royal family, Cobra Saxe Gotha, or known as the House of Windsor, are Germans. Hey, eagle. And where the carcass lies, the eagle flies. There's a part in the Bible that says, where the carcass lies dead, the eagle flies. All right? Just keep that in mind, symbolic.
During the Renaissance period, late medieval England, the Spanish Empire, the Ottoman Empire, and hundreds more. Interestingly enough, pre-revolutionary France is also on this list, which is why Napoleon Bonaparte did everything he could to fight against usury. Senator Carter Glass, a former US Secretary of the Treasury, said, quote, "With a gun, a man can rob a bank. With a bank, a man can rob the world." We can even see the effects of usury in the 21st century as well, during the 2007 banking crisis. Under President Clinton's administration, there was a strong push to increase home ownership in the United States. This led to the National Home Ownership Strategy, aiming to make it easier for more Americans to own homes. To achieve this goal, lending standards were lowered, meaning banks and other financial institutions were allowed, and in some cases encouraged, to give home loans to people who, under normal circumstances, might not qualify because of their income, credit history.
Okay, I'm going to stop you right there. Stop it right there, because we got limited time. I just wanted to prove the point that usury, all of this, it's been going on for a long time. So we're just brief recapping where we ended off last Thursday. Okay, we ended up around here. Okay, let's go straight into it. We kind of covered this. We kind of covered the Bretton Woods Agreement, what was ratified in 1945. The IMF, the creation of the IMF. I'm just skipping some parts, and if there's any parts that you guys want to catch up on, please subscribe our YouTube channel where we upload our book club videos. So I'm just skipping along real quick so that we all get it. Okay, let's start off here. Of course, the Federal Reserve, being a private bank and not answerable, same as the Bank of England, to the US government, did start overprinting paper dollars, and much of the perceived prosperity of the 1950s and 1960s was a result of foreign nations' obligations to accept the paper notes as being worth gold at the rate of $35 an ounce. Then in 1970, France, Burkina Faso, France, Haiti, France looked at the huge pile of paper notes sitting in their votes. Who's seen the movie 7 Days in May? We went into that last week. They made a movie, 7 Days in May, which kind of encompasses what we're talking about. Go and watch it, it's on YouTube. France looked at the huge pile of papers, notes sitting in their votes. By the way, can you all see the screen? Do I need to enlarge it a little bit? I know some of you are using your iPhone 1s and iPhone 2s. It's buffering. Don't worry. Okay, right, the votes. Which real French products, keep this in mind, French products like wine, cheese have been traded. Notify the United States government that they would exercise their option under the Bretton Woods to return paper notes for gold. Listen, we're in a digital era right now, at the $35 per ounce exchange rate. I've read it already. Of course, the United States had nowhere near the gold to redeem paper notes. So on August 15, 1971, guess what happened? Richard Nixon temporarily suspended gold convertibility of the US Federal Reserve notes. I'm going to quickly just show you something real quick. JFK was killed because he dared to print notes that were not coming from the Federal Reserve. Understand this. You come away from the private bankers, you're stepping into some deep water. Hitler came away from the private bankers. Look what happened. They went to war with Hitler, not because of what he was doing to poor Jews, but they went to war with Hitler because he dared to come away from private bankers. This country, the Labour Party, Keir Starmer, is under private bankers. How many governments do we have in the United Kingdom, people? Real quick.
2.
2, name them.
House of Commons and House of Lords.
Nope. Nope. They are one of the same government, 2 different parts. 2 different governments. The 2 different governments is one private, one public. We kind of answered it already.
Point of interest, is it the UK, which is the corporation?
Yes, but
One.
who governs that, or who is under that corporation? What are
Bank
the
of
2?
England.
1 or 2? Sorry, you're saying the UK is that other government, the corporation, right?
Yes.
So who's the other one?
I'm just going to say the bankers.
Yes,
I'm not-
you're absolutely right. The private bank, City of London, foreign state, is the actual government that is governing the public bank, public government, Labour Party. They are the puppets of the private bankers. Okay.
Okay, I yield.
Thank you. No worries, sister. Anyone with any points, please jump in. Nixon, okay, so in 1971, we also have the beginnings of Edward Heath selling the Great Britain into the at that time it wasn't called ECC, is EUC, the European market at that time. He sold this country out around that period of time, 1971, 72. Okay, so Nixon's shock effectively ended Bretton Woods. Look at that word, Bretton Woods, people. And many global currencies started to disengage from the US dollar. Worse still, since the United States had to collateralize their loans with the nation's gold reserves. Right, not enough gold in America, not enough gold here. Where is the gold? We're getting into Africa now, Burkina Faso and Muammar Gaddafi now. Yeah, the gold reserves. It quickly became apparent that the US government did not, in fact, have enough gold to cover outstanding debts. I'm telling you why they have paper money and now it's going into digital now. Foreign nations began to get very nervous about their loans to the US and understandably were reluctant to lend any additional money to the United States without some form of collateral. So Richard Nixon started an environmental movement. Sounds familiar? Environmental climate change, 15-minute cities, with the EPA and its various programs such as wilderness zones, roadless areas. See, this 15-minute city is not new, see? Heritage rivers, wetlands, Brockwell Park, the residents, the environment, people, huh? Oh, we're gonna fine you if you try to have any parties in Brockwell Park. We'll take you to court, high court. That's what they're doing. And they tried to cancel it. And I do believe it's going back on right now. But anyway, there's something else. Okay, wetlands of all which took vast areas of public lands and made them off limits to the American people, who were technically the owners of those lands. But Nixon had little concern for the environment, and the real purpose of this land grab under the guise of the government was to pledge those pristine lands with their vast mineral resources. It's all about land, people, land, as collateral on national debt. Okay, the plethora of different programs was simply to conceal the true scale of how much the American land was being pledged to foreign lenders as collateral on the government's debts, eventually almost 25% of the nation itself. Listen to me. The private bankers are the ones that want to assume position as landowners. Okay. With open lands for collateral already in short supply, the US government embarked upon a new... Do we have any readers who would like to read? Please feel free to jump in. Any readers who would like to jump in and read with me? Please go ahead. Okay. With open lands collateral already in short supply, the US government embarked on a new program to shore up sagging international demand for the dollar. People, this is so relevant to what's happening today. United States, by the way, when we say United States, we're talking about a corporation, by the way. America and the United States are two different places. One's a fiction and one's the land. One's a fiction, one's the land. Like the sister said, the United Kingdom and you've got Great Britain. Okay. the United States approached the world's oil-producing nations, mostly in the Middle East, and offered them a deal, listen, in exchange for only selling their oil for dollars. The United States corporation would guarantee military safety, lies, of those oil-rich nations, Saudi Arabia, Africa, so on. Oil-rich nations would agree to spend and invest their US paper dollars inside the United States. They would agree to spend the paper in the United States, all right? In particular, in the US Treasury bonds, redeemable through future generations of US taxpayers, liars. The concept was labeled the petrodollar. Who's heard of the term petrodollar before? Petrodollar. Now we're going into Muammar Gaddafi now. In effect, the US no longer able to back the dollar with gold, because Europe and America, they don't have gold like that. Yeah, was now backing it with oil. There is oil in America. Dallas. Who remembers Dallas? Come on, I'm not the only 40+ individual here. Other people's oil and the necessity to keep control over those nations in order to prop up the dollar has shaped America's foreign policy in the region ever since. We're getting somewhere now. Stay with me. But as America's manufacturing and agriculture has declined, China moving factories out, unemployment. This is the beginning of now poverty in places like Detroit and so forth. Then hence crime goes up. Those piles of the US federal notes, Federal Reserve notes, were not able to purchase much from the United States because the United States had little other than real estate, which anyone wanted to buy. Europe's cars and aircraft were superior, less costly, Concorde, while experiments with GMO food crops led to nations refusing to buy US food exports. Excuse me. Israel's constant belligerence, remember.
Just a point of interest.
Go on. Yes, please. Go ahead, brother.
Recently in the news cycle, they made an agreement to start, selling certain USA products because Trump was going on about how, the world doesn't want American beef, it doesn't want American beef, or it doesn't want these other American products, etc. So in this book is talking about how they've used GMO and some of their farming practices. Well, Europe doesn't accept some of their produce because they don't like their farming practices. And the law is not set up for the traceability for the animals, etc., like it is in Europe. So the standards in Europe, the food standards are much higher. And because of that, that's why Europe don't want America's food produce, or not all of it, but some of it. But they're starting to change that now because of what he did with the tariffs. So what he did with all this tariff business is bring everyone back to the table to start a renegotiation. So you might start seeing more American produce in Europe as a result. I mean, they're still not doing beef. They're still not doing a few things, but some other things they've made agreements on.
Look
that
at
was
that.
literally like last week.
And you know America's food, is that healthy? Is that healthy? Not really.
Their food isn't healthy, but it's engineered to be very tasty.
There you go. Saying what tastes good to you. They say what tastes good. There's a saying that says what tastes good to you.
I mean, one thing the Americans are very good at, the United States are very good at making everything palatable. Their customer service is top. Their food can be top just in terms of a palatability perspective. But in terms of nutritional or quality, America don't have it. But on the surface, they can make everything appear to be absolutely fantastic. Their presentation, that's what they're good at.
Yep, marketing. That's right. That's right.
Yeah, exactly. That is what they're good at. They're great at marketing, presenting, promoting, advertising, all of that. That's what they are great at. And I think that is what they are trying to push even now, even though they know their food not good.
That's right. That's right. That's exactly right. The food not good. When I first went to America, you see Big Macs here? That's a triple Mac in America, yeah. That's a triple Mac, everything big. So just going back slightly, thank you, Fred. Just going back slightly to what the petrodollar, because we're reading through things and we need to know what we're looking at here. It says the petrodollar agreement 1973. All right, look, since the agreements of 1971, 73, OPEC oil, remember that company, and the Bush Senior and Junior, OPEC oil is generally quoted in US dollars, yeah? Sometimes referred to as petrodollars. October 1973, six OPEC members, Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, Abu Dhabi, Qatar, Libya, we're going there, Algeria, declared an oil embargo on the United States and the Netherlands. Who knew that? Who knew that? Huh? Who knew that? I didn't quite know that. Thank God for book club. So we're going there now. Right. So you can see the screen. Okay, here we go. Okay. America's manufacturing agriculture has declined. All producing nations were faced at the dilemma, powers of US federal notes. Okay, we read that part, excuse me. Israel's constant belligerence. By the way, Israel created in 1948. The term the Middle East is a new term, by the way, ladies and gentlemen. If there is such place geographically called Middle East, I'm asking you, where is the Middle West? It's a fiction. It's a fiction. Israel, fiction. United States of America, fiction. United Kingdom, fiction. Israel's constant belligerence against its neighbors caused them, by the way, that is a military trading post for America, Israel is. Yeah? Belligerence against the neighbors caused them to wonder if the US could actually keep their end of the petrodollar arrangement. So they put Israel there as a bully. Yeah? It all connects with World War I and II. Oil-producing nations started to talk of selling their oil for whatever currency the purchasers choose to use. Iraq already hostile to United States following Desert Storm, demanded the right to sell their oil to euros in 2000 and 2002. The United Nations agreed to allow it under the Oil for Food. I don't know if anyone remembers that program instituted following Desert Storm. I don't know if anyone knows about Desert Storm and the Oil for Food. We can go into that later. 1 year later, the United States re-invaded Iraq. This is after 9/11. Lynched Saddam Hussein. Listen, please keep Abraham Traoré and Burkina Faso in mind, and I'm praying this don't happen at all. And placed Iraq's oil back on the world market only for US dollars. These people are bullies. Just look at what's happening today. Following 9/11, the clear US policy shift away from being an impartial broker of peace, liars, they're not peacemakers, peace, they broke the peace in the Middle East, fiction, to one of unquestioned support for Israel's aggression, only further eroded confidence in the petrodollar deal, and even more oil-producing nations started to openly talking of oil trade for other global currencies. Now, here we are. Listen to me. Saddam Hussein, Ayatollah Khomeini, and many others were placed as puppets, including many African leaders. Are you, please follow me. Over Libya, Muammar Gaddafi had instituted a state-owned, listen, we're talking about the private bank versus public, state-owned central bank and a value-based trade currency. Money and currency are two different things, people. Coinage, money, currency, different things. So when people are praying, I want money, God said, okay, you're asking for debt. You're asking for debt. Money is debt. The paper you have is a promise to pay. It's a promissory note that you are walking around with, which they are abolishing. Federal Reserve notes in America, that's debt notes. What we need is currency. I just want to make that quick point there. Okay, value-based trade currency, the gold dinar, Gaddafi announced that Libya's oil was for sale, but only for gold dinar. Oh, what a chess move. America don't have no gold. Not enough. Other African nations, seeing the rise of the gold dinar, rising again, and the euro, even as the US dollar continued its inflation-driven decline, debt, flocked to the new Libyan currency for trade. This move had potential, seriously to undermine the global hegemony of the dollar, leadership hegemony of the dollar. French, here we go again. French
Courtney,
president.
can we just break that down a little bit, please?
Please, go ahead, brother. Let's break
So
it down.
when he decided that he's gonna start selling oil in gold dinar, for you to buy oil, that means you have to have gold dinar. That's the bit that I think might have gone over everyone's heads. Because
Yeah.
at first it's gone over my head until I really looked at this thing over again. It's like, oh, so basically you're saying my oil's for sale, but you have to buy it in my currency. And for you to acquire my currency, that means you have to trade with me because I need to now buy something from you or give you dinars based on you giving me gold or giving me grain or something my country needs or my people need. Then you can have dinar, then you can have oil because you want oil.
There you go.
So, you see what I'm saying? So when you sell it in any other currency, you got to acquire that currency. It's like when you go to Japan, you need to use yen. So
That's
you
right.
can't go in the shop and use dollars or pounds. You have to use yen. So you have to acquire yen first before you can acquire the services or products or goods of Japan.
There
So
you go.
that means you have to trade whatever you have or whatever they deem valuable to give you their currency so you can operate in their economy.
Come on, brother. Carry on reading for me a little bit. I'm going to line up the video for Muammar Gaddafi because we're going there because people applauding Ibrahim Touré, yeah, which is great. But if we don't study history and what's going on right now,
Where were you reading from? Where was it?
you can go from where can you see the mouse, the mousey mouse?
Yeah, well, over in Libya.
Yeah, start from that. Yeah, start from that again.
Okay, I'll read for a bit. So over in Libya,
Go ahead, bro.
Muammar Gaddafi had instituted a state-owned central bank and a value-based trade currency, the gold dinar. Gaddafi announced that Libya's oil was for sale, but only for the gold dinar. Other African nations, seeing the rise of the gold dinar and the euro, even as the US dollar continued its inflation-driven decline, flocked to the new Libyan currency for trade. This move had the potential to seriously undermine the global hegemony of the dollar. French President Nicolas Sarkozy reportedly went so far to call Libya a threat to the financial security of the world.
Wow.
So, the United States invaded Libya, brutally murdered Gaddafi, the object lesson of Saddam's lynching not being enough of a message apparently, imposed a private central bank and returned Libya's oil output to dollars only.
Wow.
The gold that was to have been made into the gold dinars is, as of last report, unaccounted for.
Thank you, brother. We're going to go into Muammar Gaddafi right now. See, we got to look. See, it didn't start. It was Hitler and many other people who stood up against the international bankers, the private bankers, the IMF. What year was the IMF created? Can anyone remember from last week, Thursday? What year and where geographically the International Monetary Fund was created and established? Washington, D.C., 1946 in Washington, D.C. So yes, the currency is important here. The currency, we're going to get to a point, but let's play a little bit of Muammar Gaddafi, the great
Revolutionary leader who ruled with an iron fist for more than 40 years. Colonel Muammar Gaddafi said he would rather die than step down from the leadership of Libya.
Come on.
But his grip on power also resulted in the death of many others. He leaves behind a country deeply scarred by his rule.
Gaddafi was delusional, unpredictable, disloyal, vindictive, and bent on entering history in the most significant way, even if that comes at the expense of people around him.
In September 1969, a 27-year-old Muammar Gaddafi led a group of army officers in a coup against King Idris. They proclaimed a new Libyan Arab Republic. Gaddafi modeled himself on Egyptian leader Gamal Abdel Nasser. The young colonel wanted
Gamal Abdel Nasser. Please go and look up that man there. Yeah, please. Everything connects. Everything connects. Let me just continue playing, sorry.
to be a leader of the Arab world. At home, Gaddafi declared a cultural revolution. People's committees were formed. They were used to take over businesses and silence dissidents. Many disappeared. Gaddafi published the Green Book, which established the rule of the masses. In reality, the colonel exercised nearly total control of government. He even ordered the adoption of a new calendar based on the death of the Prophet Muhammad. Meanwhile,
Do you know how deep that is to reorder a new calendar? Because the Islamic calendar goes by the moon, the European Gregorian calendar goes by the sun. Now, when you're talking about going by different calendars, now you're talking about different currency altogether. The very calendar we're on is in synchronicity to paying bills and money and all that every 28 days and so on and so forth. It's very deep. The word calendar is connected to the word debt, etymologically speaking. Calends, which is a Roman term. All right.
Gaddafi antagonized the West,
You knew what he's doing.
particularly the United States, which labeled Libya a state sponsor of terrorism.
Okay.
Mad
Uh-oh.
Dog of the Middle East has a
And this son of a, you know what, he was responsible for, he was an actor, remember? Ronald Wilson Reagan. And if you count the letters in his name, Ronald Wilson Reagan, Ronald 6, Wilson 6, Reagan 6, 666. This guy was responsible for flooding out the poor and black communities in America with cocaine, with his deal with the South American mafia, so to speak. They flooded out the black community with AK-47s, Uzis, and cocaine. And this is where you had the rise of Free Ray, Ricky Ross, and the Bloods, and all of that was orchestrated by this devil here. This is the real terrorist, him.
goal of a world revolution, Muslim fundamentalist
Look at that.
revolution, which is targeted on
Gaddafi,
The word fundamental means principle. It doesn't mean anything wicked. The word fundamentals, you are obedient to the fundamentals of whatever you're following.
he did support the Palestinian Liberation Organization, and he funded the Irish Republican Army and Colombia's FARC guerrillas.
Right.
Then, in 1986, a Libyan-sponsored attack on a discotheque in Berlin killed 3
Lies.
and wounded more than 250,
Lies.
including 50 American servicemen.
Lies. All orchestrated.
The
Remember,
US responded by launching a series of airstrikes on Libya. Targets included Gaddafi's residence in Tripoli, killing more than 100 people, including Gaddafi's adopted daughter, Hannah.
wow.
2 years later, Pan Am Flight 103 was blown up over the town of Lockerbie in Scotland, killing 270 people.
They still have no
Gaddafi denied
evidence.
involvement. Libya endured years of UN sanctions and international isolation, but he eventually surrendered.
Now, real quick, do you think it's a coincidence that the man said we want to trade with our currency in Africa, and then all of that happened? You people go and look up a book or a YouTube video called The Economic Hitman. Go and read up on the economic, or watch a video called The Economic Hitman. You could put that in the chat for the people.
The suspects demanded by London and Washington, D.C. Then came
Uh-oh.
September 11th. Gaddafi joined the West in fighting al-Qaeda. He abandoned his development of weapons of mass destruction, but Arab world ties remained strained. There had been claims that Libyan intelligence was behind a plot to assassinate the Saudi
Nice.
king Abdullah bin Abdulaziz. At a regional summit to try to avert the US-led invasion of Iraq, Gaddafi accused the Saudis of being US puppets, prompting
Yes.
an angry response from the then Crown Prince Abdullah.
Bravo Corny.
Saudi Arabia is not a slave to colonial forces like you and others.
Yes, you
Who
are.
brought you into power? Tell me the truth. Who brought you into power?
By then, Gaddafi had done enough to be welcomed back onto the world stage, playing host to world leaders in the spotlight.
And he killed him.
Estranged from the Arab world, Gaddafi turned to Africa. He
Listen,
proposed the United States of Africa, a grandiose project.
listen to this part now, please. Please. This is so important with Ibrahim Toué. Please, I'm sorry I'm stopping it, but I just want us to make sure that we're all here. Listen to this part. Very important for us in 2025.
That was never taken seriously.
Never taken
As
seriously.
an uprising against Gaddafi gathered earlier this year, he blamed everyone from the United States to al-Qaeda and the so-called drugged-up rats and cats of Libya.
Uh-oh.
In one of his last televised addresses, Gaddafi threatened massive violence to quash protesters. Following a push through Libya by opposition groups backed by NATO firepower, Gaddafi lost his grip on Tripoli. Gaddafi's hometown of Sirte was his final stronghold. Africa and the Arab world's longest ruling leader has left Libya in tatters. Despite it,
That's a lie. Now, if you look at the economic state of Libya right now, it's in tatters, not because of because of Muammar Gaddafi, but because of the economic hitman, the CIA, and all of those agents who are involved in destroying the idea of the United States of Africa. A United States of Africa would mean one single currency. I'm going to play a little bit more on something, but we're going to carry on reading. I just want to, we're bringing it home now. We're all bringing it home. Go ahead, Freddie, still there, brother?
Brother Courtney,
Yeah,
it's Sean, not Sean.
go ahead.
After you play this bit, I want to ask a question quickly concerning what they meant by it would have destabilized the entire global financial policy, because I want to know why they said that. But yeah, play the video and then I kind of want to get your opinion and probably Brother Fred's opinion on why you think they would have said what Gaddafi was trying to achieve would have destabilized the entire global monetary policy, I think it was it. Yeah. But yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, I do have an opinion on that.
Go ahead, bro. Go ahead.
Now, I just want to just prerequisite this. So this is just my opinion. Okay, my opinion of that is this. Because the dollar is the world reserve currency and all currencies are pegged to it, it means that the petrodollar, basically all currency is backed effectively by oil. So, and it's only backed by oil because you can only seem to buy oil in dollars. So that means everyone has to trade with the United States to buy dollars or exchange goods with each other, other countries that already have dollars because they traded their dollars for gold, their gold for dollars, you know, when the Bretton Woods Agreement before that was, you know, expired or was gotten rid of, should I say. Which means that United States was always afloat. And this is another reason why they massively expanded their military, because they now needed to protect all these oil fields from anybody else. So by you selling this oil now, and if you've got oil for a good price, that can be purchased for less than what the US are offering, you're going to destabilize the entire world's economy, because now everyone's currency is losing value because there's a competitor in the market. Same way, like if you have a monopoly business, you can charge what you like. If you have a competition business, it's a race to the bottom because you have to compete on price, because consumers will go for price and or quality. So oil is oil. They mine it out of all the same place, earth. It's all the same. So there's no difference in quality. It's just price. And if you introduce a competing, a competitor in terms of the currency, then that would massively devalue the previous monopoly holder, because now there's competition, which means currencies would then go into free fall because everybody else's currency is backed by that dollar. And that also means that whatever currencies are not backed by the dollar, that gold dinar, because it had a state-owned central bank and not a central bank that's linked to the Rothschild banking network, their currency would immediately become the most valuable.
Yes, that's in a nutshell.
So I'm gonna do a bit of pushback just quickly.
But Sean,
not pushback in a sense of an argument. Yeah, I can hear you. I can hear you.
Can I just, brother, what you've got there and what Fred's got there is a very good point. But what I want to do real
is play the video. I'll shut up.
No. I want you to come with your point, brother. But I want us to go.
I'll say it after. I'll say it after. So do your video. Yeah, I'll say it after. I'll say it after, brother.
Thank you.
I'll shut up for now. Just play the video and then tell me when it's finished. I'll jump in quickly just to give some additional stuff. But yeah, no problem, brother. I'll jump in after.
Thank you, King. We don't want you to shut up.
No problem, brother.
We love your points. We love your points.
I mean, I'll stop for now. Shut up, mate. I'll stop for now until you play the video, brother. Yeah?
Thank you.
All right, cool.
Thank you, Sean. Thank you, Fred. I'm just going to quickly show a video that is so relevant to what Sean and what Fred has said here, you know, and it's so important that we understand what's. I want to play a shorter version of this. Real quick. I'm going to show a short version just to give you all, just to plant a seed in your mind. And we're bringing this home regarding
We had a guy on, his name is John Perkins. He wrote a book called The Economic Hitman. And one of the things he talked about the model on what it was, they go to president. That's what he did, by the way. This was his job. He goes to a country that has a natural resource.
Right, natural resource, gold, natural resource, cobalt, the things that we use some of us are still using iPhone 1, Samsung iPhone 1. Natural resources are found in Africa mostly. You ain't gonna get great natural resources in Europe for the most part, you won't. But yes, sorry.
Or location, oil, it's close to something that they can have some kind of control. And they go to them and they say, here's what we're going to be doing. We're going to come here and we're going to bring billions of dollars of infrastructure to your country. However, here's what you're going to give us. And then the president who said no, he says, a couple of them they killed. That was his job. He doesn't say he killed them, but he says, if you said no, when I went back and I had to report back to the people that I work for that you're saying no to, guess what? Bad things are going to happen to you and your family, and it happened.
Right.
Then the next model was we bring infrastructure, then we make the country go bankrupt. Then you give us everything, then we control you. We had a guy on.
I could even ask the question, is that what's happening to England now? England seems to be for sale. Huh? England seems to be for sale. But I just want to play that video real quick just to plant the seed as to what happened in Libya and what is happening today. So, Fred, where you were reading from, brother, please continue reading, brother, because it's going to get very, very, very interesting.
I can't continue reading for a moment. Just give me about 10 minutes. You might have to continue, sorry.
No worries, no worries. Okay, so it says, we're continuing. So, the United States invaded Libya, brutally murdered Gaddafi. The object set lesson of Saddam's lynching not being enough of a message, apparently, fair tactics, imposed by the private central bank. Federal Reserve, federal government, that whole P. Diddy thing, that's the federal bank, the Federal Reserve, they're the beneficiaries of that. Private central bank returned Libya's oil output to dollars only. See, that's what the gentleman was just saying there. The gold was, the gold that was to have been made into gold dinars is, as of last report, unaccounted for. According to General Wesley, a military man, Wesley Clark, the master plan for the dollarification of the world's oil nations included seven targets: Iraq, Syria, Lebanon, Libya, Somalia. See, think about all the propaganda movies that have come out of Hollywood, like Black Hawk Down, the other one with the I Am Your Captain Now. What was the name of that one now with Tom Hanks? Jeez, that was a good movie. Oh, sorry, I forgot it. But anyways, propaganda to muddy and murkify the waters of those people from that region. Be very careful of these films that are coming out where they're propagating military stuff. Like there's the one about my man, not my man, but it's a term that we use in Jamaica. My man, who's accused of the Twin Towers. They made a movie on it and then won an Oscar on it as well. Osama bin Laden, and they made a movie about how they assassinated him. So they always, and they made one recently about Lockerbie as well, starring Colin Firth. So Hollywood is a part of the machine. This is why when you see movies coming out, like Doomsday, Marvel, which is coming out next year, Sinners, which we're going to do a decoding evening about, there are prophetical messages in a film that will tell you what the private banker's next move is going to be. Because Sinners was made in a time just before the Great Depression of 1933. That's another subject, but it's in tune with what we're saying here. Okay. Venezuela, which dared to sell their oil to China for the yuan, is a late addition. What is notable about the original 7 nations originally targeted by the US is that none of them are members of the Bank for International Settlements. Any issue that America has, go and check out what country, check out the countries that have an issue with America and check out who's backing them. They were the private bankers. The private central bankers, private central bank located in Switzerland. Who are the guards outside the Vatican? Who are the guards outside the Vatican? Swiss guards. This meant that these nations were deciding for themselves how to run their nations' economies rather than submit to international private banks. Now, the gun sights of the bankers are on Iran, which dares to have a government central bank sell their oil for whatever currency they choose. Family, why is it that I can go to West Africa the other day and the currency, £10 in Gambian money, which is called Dalasi, is 1,000 Dalasi? How comes I can be in the richest continent on the planet, but yet people are walking around barefoot almost? Make it make sense. Who is in control of Gambia, Nigeria, Burkina Faso, South Africa? But Burkina Faso standing up now. The war agenda is always to force Iran's oil to be sold for dollars and force them to accept a privately owned central bank. Go and do research on all the countries that are in trouble right now, currency-wise. Go and do a research for yourselves, Google research. The German government recently asked for the return of some of their gold bullion from the Bank of France and New York Federal Reserve. Wow. Remember where the P. Diddy trial is? It's in New York. All right. City. France has said it will take 5 years to return Germany's gold. What about our gold? The United States has said it will need 8 years to return Germany's gold. This suggests strongly that the Bank of France and New York Federal Reserve have used and, they deposited gold for other purposes, and they are scrambling to find new gold to cover the shortfall and prevent a gold run. So it is inevitably that suddenly France invades Mali. Listen, Africa, that's West Africa, ostensibly to combat Al-Qaeda, with the US joining in. Mali, remember, where did Mansa Musa come from? Mali. Mali just happens to be one of the world's largest gold producers, with gold accounting for 80% of Mali exports. War for the bankers does not get more obvious than that. Family, go to the Bank of England, it's a museum section there, and they'll tell you where they got the gold from and how they use slave labor of the Brazilians, the South Americans, the Caribbeans to basically, to do slavery. All right. Americans have raised a public school system and the media that constantly assures them that the reason for all these wars and assassinations are many and varied. The US claims to bring democracy to the conquered lands. They haven't, and usually result of the US overthrow is the imposition of the dictatorship, such as 1953 CIA overthrow of Iran's democratically elected government of Mohammad Mossadegh, and the imposition of the Shah, that's like, the president of a Muslim country, or 1973 CIA overthrow of Chile's democratic elected government of the president Salvador Allende, and the imposition of Augusto Pinochet, or to save a people from cruel oppressor, revenge for 9/11. So all of these things are orchestrated. It's not me saying this. Orchestrated, or that tried, worn out, catch-all excuse for invasion. Weapons of mass destruction. They didn't find any. Assassinations are always passed off as crazed lone nuts to obscure the real agenda. Look at what's going on in Israel. Let me tell you something. They're creating a new Suez Canal-like pathway in Israel to get to Africa. Let me just show you a map real quick, and we're going to close out the book club section, and I'm going to hand over to Fred real quick. I'm going to show you something, a map of Africa, yeah? Because what's going on right now, Africa, they're getting ready to invade Africa. And we need to understand what's going on politically, because politics and economics are one of the same. You don't separate them. They're one of the same. In order to understand business and economics, then you must understand politics. Politicians, excuse my language in saying this, politicians are business people's prostitutes. I said it. Yeah? Now, when you look at Africa here, people, when you look at Northeast Africa, you've got Egypt, you've got the Nile River, which is the longest river in the whole world, not the Amazon. But then if I should have added in what was called and is called the Middle East, that is also a part of Africa, by the way. Saudi Arabia is a part of Africa. All of that is Africa. This is the heart of wealth and resources of the world. Yet, the African presidents do not control it. So you got South Africa, where you got white South Africans seeking refuge in America right now under Donald Trump, ridiculous. You got Libya, that is totally washed economically. Africa, whoever controls Africa will rule the 21st century. Mark my words. Whoever controls Africa rules the 21st century, because this is where the real money, if you want to call it currency, money is coming from the motherland. I just wanted to make that point real quick. Fred, are you there? Are you there, Fred?
Present.
Present. All right. We're just gonna showing people an image of what we're dealing with here and how it relates to Keir Starmer now. See, the public government and the private banking government, and how everything that you pay for. You coming back? Okay, bro. All right, bro. That's Adrian. This is Andre. Andre's. All right, brother. Andre's birthday the other day. Come on, yesterday actually. Jeez. All right. Bless up. So, family, the reason why Malcolm X said, and we want to salute Malcolm X, 100 years old, he would have been if he was alive. Anything you want to hide from a people, you put it in a book. That's why we hold book club very, it's so important and imperative that we're reading. So when you watch the news next time, and we call news North, East, West, and South, controlling your views, propaganda, it's all propaganda, then you can read between the lies and the lines. You know now that when you hear of, there was an incident that took place in Washington, D.C. the other day, actually. There was an incident that took place in Washington, D.C. the other day. Washington, D.C. terror attack. There's some people who were killed there the other day, and we condemn killing. We condemn all forms of terror. We do. We condemn it. We don't condone that. We don't support that. But let me show you something. And you make up your own minds after you read what you've just read here in book club. You make up your own mind as to what's going on. So the CNN has reported this. And remember, there's a lot of stuff going on in Israel right now as we speak. All right. So okay. So there's a suspect shooting that took place in Washington, D.C. I don't know if any of you knew about this, but while we're all focused on P. Diddy and Cassie, stuff is taking place politically and economically. And you can make up your own mind whether this was a genuine evil attack, which it was, or was it orchestrated? People keep making mention of The Simpsons, how they predict certain things before it happens, right? Yeah. So this is what's going on right now. And it's some form of retaliation support for those, they say, is support for the Palestinians of Israel. Make up your own minds whether this was I'm not saying it's orchestrated. I'm not saying it's not. But based upon what we've watched, what we've read, you make up your own mind, because a leopard never changes its spots. Are you with me? Do you follow me? I hope everyone's following me on this one. Fred, we're going to hand it over to you in a moment, bro, because I don't want to keep people here too long. I just want to plant the seed that people need to start watching things now with an analytical eye. I'm going to bring back the good brother Sean, so we can ask his question as well. And I haven't forgotten about our good brother. So
I think he's gone.
Oh, he's gone. Okay, he was traveling, but I'll give him a shout to make him come back again. Okay, so let's check this out as we conclude. Thank you, sis. Let's conclude this part. Yeah? Let's conclude this as before we bring in Fred and before we get Sean back on again. All right. The assassinations were always passed off as crazed long nuts to obscure the real agenda. I just showed you an image of that which took place, I think it was yesterday, in Washington, D.C. Washington, D.C., by the way, which is not a part of America, which is an independent state like the Vatican and the City of London, independent from the rest of the United States. It's a corporation. The real agenda is simple. It is enslavement of the people by creation of false sense of obligation. Watch your young people joining the army now, people. Check it. That obligation is forced because the private, no coincidence that they call you a private when you join the army, the private central banking system, by design, always creates more debt, listen, than money with which to pay that debt. Yeah, that's another way of saying inflation or fractional reserve banking. Private central banking, slave masters, is not science, it is a religion. Wow. A set of arbitrary rules created to benefit the priesthood, the elites, meaning the owners of the private central bank. Fraud persists. with often lethal results, as we just showed, because the people are tricked into believing that this is the, believing that this is the way life is supposed to be, and no alternative exists or should be dreamed of. You shouldn't dream to be a free individual. The same was true of the two earlier systems of enslavement, ruled by divine right and slavery, both of which are systems. The system designed to trick people into obedience, both of which are now recognized into modern civilization illegitimate. That's illegitimate. Now we are entering a time in human history where we will recognize that rule by debt, which we're under, Keir Starmer, the private bankers of England, are or ruled by private central bankers issuing the public currency as loan at interest, is equally illegitimate. It only works as long as people allow themselves to believe that this is the way life's supposed to be. Right, so we're gonna end book club there. So Sean, I don't know if you're there, brother. And we're gonna bring in Fred, who's gonna talk about his trip. And I'm gonna talk a little bit about the decoding of the movie Sinners, and how it ties in as well. Just a little bit. That is actually gonna be in July, by the way. Sister Love, Fred, where you at, brother? Fred.
I'm here.
All right, brother. We're gonna show the good people what we are dealing with, and I'm gonna hand it over to you, because you're planning this wonderful trip. Tell us why you're doing this, what this is all about, brother.
Okay. I'll even turn on my camera for a bit. Can you see me?
There he is. Come on.
I don't know if you can see me or not.
Yes, sir. We can see you.
Okay, hi. So basically, hi everybody. I've planned a trip to go and see the 800-year-old documents of the Magna Carta that is held at Durham Cathedral. Why it's significant is because it's a statement of law, and I'm just going to read part of this off of the UK Parliament website because it gives a really nice synopsis. Basically, it's a statement of law that applies to kings as well as their subjects. So it means that the king, the will of the king is inside the law, so that the monarch can't just do whatever they want. So it was like the first piece of legislation, or one of the first, that gave people a sense of their rights. So they couldn't just, the king had to follow the law. So it kind of limited the power of the kings. And that's why, for those of us who want to study our rights or want to exercise our rights, in England anyway, in Britain here, this is where that started. So it's like a foundational document. It's foundational to, you know, British law. It can never, it's one of these documents that can't really be repealed as such. Even though some people say, oh, well, it's no longer valid, it is, but they don't like to, they don't like to admit it. So it's one of them documents where if you know how to invoke it and use it in your claims and things you're doing, then it's going to be significant for you. But less on that. So that's why it's good to see these are the real documents that have been kept for 800 years, the 800th anniversary. As you can see, yeah, it says the 1225 issue. And this is the issue that the king signed that wasn't under duress, because there was a previous one that the claim is it was signed under duress, but this one was not signed under duress. And as we know with contract law, if it's signed under duress, then it's null and void. So, you know, this is the one that stands. So other than, you know, going just to see that document, I've planned a trip with a small itinerary of viewing that document there, also having a tour of the cathedral. I've included rail travel from London, King's Cross, up there, and also a hotel for a one-night stay and breakfast the next day. And we're probably going to have dinner together if that's what people want to do, or people want to do their own thing in the evening, then they can do their own thing. So that's what the trip encompasses. And it's nice to just spend time with like-minded people. Some of us don't get out of London much, and it's an opportunity to have a little time away at the weekend where we're doing something a little bit different than what we might usually do. So what I've done, I've used the power of economics to try and get a good price for everybody. So you get the hotel stay, the rail travel, the breakfast, the cathedral tour, and the museum where the documents are held, all for one price. And the price is £250 for a single person. But if you want to share a room with somebody and you want to double up, then it's £210. So it's £420 for both of you to share a room. And that is what it all includes. Now, I was promoting this at the beginning of the year, so it was just £60 to deposit, and the rest of the money's in by the end of this month. So for those who want to come, if you want to come, there's still a few spaces. If you do want to come on the trip with us and the other people that are coming, please do contact me. You can pay the deposit on there. If you need a little bit of extra time to make the rest of the payment, I can extend that a little bit, because you might be coming on now. So I can extend it probably to like the middle of June, to give you a month, because that'll bring it to a month, because we're in the middle of May now. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to going. I'm really looking forward to meeting some of these names behind book club, and just looking to have a great time observing a bit of history, and also liaising and mingling with my peoples.
Come on, man, that's brilliant. So, bro, could you tell us what the word Magna Carta means for the? Any questions for Fred and the Magna Carta trip, or the trip to Durham? Any questions before I ask any of my questions?
I have a question. I'm traveling, or I'll be traveling from Birmingham, and I might be coming. Is it possible I can make my own way there?
It is, obviously, anything's possible. I do have an all-inclusive price, and I can't. Well, it's difficult to unbundle it, but I will see what I can do about unbundling it. So if you're gonna make your own way there, I'll see about a reduction for that. But let me know.
Thank you. I will.
Excellent.
Point of interest.
Yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
As he was saying that sorry,
Go ahead.
are you still talking, Nikema?
Go ahead, sister.
No, go ahead.
Right. Thank you. So when he was saying the Magna Carta, that it's just they're trying to just deceive us, because one of the things 2 years ago, when I was looking into the Magna Carta during the Big C, they was trying to say, well, the Magna Carta doesn't mean nothing now. It's been, the government has, put their axe on it to rule it out. So we have no right, there was a certain part in the Magna Carta which state that we had some form of a say or freedom into what was going on, but the government said they did some kind of legislation to rule it out. So you're saying that nothing was done really, and they cannot do it. This stands as a firm. What would you say? It's a firm law.
Well, it's a foundational document. There's a lot of things they try to claim that you can't use, like the Bill of Rights and Magna Carta and those very old laws. But they can't actually be repealed. That's the thing. They can't actually be repealed. So they can put other acts in place that do other things that they try to supersede it. But this was here first. And if you want to invoke it, then you can. I mean, as we all know, with the courts and the other systems, it's a lot of corruption, and you have to almost be perfect in your expression and your interpretation of these things, because they will always try to find a way of pulling you down or making it seem like you don't know anything, when really it's more simple. So we're always fighting against that. I can't think of I mean, I know during COVID, a lot of freedoms and liberties were taken away. So that was a time where it was probably more prevalent to exercise your rights to be free, or to move about the place and things like that. But the country has changed in terms of how it's operating. The system that was in place back then is not exactly the same system now. So I could understand why some people might say, well, it's just, it's no longer relevant because we're not even under that system anymore. But it still is a document that limits the power of the king, and this is now my opinion, and by extension, the king's government, because remember, it's Her Majesty or His Majesty's government, and the government
That's
is
right.
empowered. They get their power from the people on the authority of the monarch. So it for me, it encompasses the limitation of that power, and it also is a reminder that we set the law, and
That's
the
right.
monarch is corralled because we set the law. So if anything, it's really a symbol of empowerment these days, or it can be considered a symbol of empowerment to remind us that we're the ones that create the law, and that it's not there to bind us, but it's there for us to exercise.
Okay. So just like how you said, we set the law because at the moment he is not king because he signed his declaration over to the World Health Organization and that. So at the moment we've got no king, as if you understand, if you know what I mean. Like we had a queen, but the king, he put his pledge somewhere else. So
according to
as you
some, we
said,
didn't even have a
finding words.
queen.
So words. So how I'm seeing it now, words. We know words are spell, and if you can find the right words in its right, because we know the English language has been, I won't say the word, I don't like to say it begins with B, it's been, so.
We call it hijacked. We say hijacked.
Yeah. So it's us being able to come together and find the right wordings to be able to put this forward to help with our freedom in how we express our freedom in this society now.
Yeah, that
Okay,
exactly.
I yield the floor.
Yes, sir. Fred, I just want to say that people who are interested, please do click on the link in the chat. You'll see there. Please.
Yeah, if you click on the link in the chat and select in the drop down what it is you want, there's a drop down just to pay the deposit. There's a drop down to pay the full amount, and to whether you will have a bedroom with just a king bed or a bedroom with 2 double beds if you're going to share with somebody. So yeah, and also you can pay on there by a credit card, debit card, and also you can use, I think it's ClearPay, because someone actually did use that. Yeah, it's ClearPay, so you can spread the payments using that third party.
One king bed, one king bed, and full payment is due next week, right?
Yes, 30th of May, but this has been going on since January. So anyone coming on now, I can extend it to the middle of June, but I have to get everything done by June with the hotel. Also about the hotel, it's the Radisson Blu Durham. It's a very nice hotel. It has a spa, has a pool, gym. So we're staying in decent place. If anyone knows me, I don't really stay in rundown places. So it's a decent place where you can put your head down in some sort of comfort. Okay.
Okay. Okay. Let's have a look. Let's see what Fred's working with here. Let's have a look. So, well, okay. Explain. That's Radisson, Edinburgh.
You'd have to type in Durham.
Durham.
You'd have to type
And
in
you know,
Durham.
I love. What was it doing now? Yeah. All them ends there, all those places, Carlisle, Durham. There's a lot of Black history up there. The Aurelian Moors. There's a lot of history up there in terms of Black history. Come on, the destination. I'm trying to select okay. Durham. All right. Any other questions, people? Any other questions, points? Well, tonight, the book club, I know people's just jumping in now. I have to make book club 9 o'clock. Okay. Okay, what are we doing? What are we doing here? All right, come on, slow. Radisson's hotels. All right. Okay, so you got, wow.
Yeah, so if you click on the pictures there, I think that one will come up, and then you can see some of the pictures. I wouldn't do the virtual tour for that. Yeah, that's the one that you can go down on the left-hand side, and you can see what the rooms look like, what the restaurant looks like, and some of the other areas of the hotel, what the pool looks like, etc.
Wow. Okay. Ooh, let's have a butcher's, huh? Let's have a look. Let's have a look, Gemma. All right. Okay.
Please remind us of the dates that you're
Oh yes, thank you.
planning.
It's the 19th of July. So it's Saturday the 19th of July.
Right.
And
And
Nice.
it's an
return?
early start. It's return the next day.
Okay.
It'll be returned the next day. Now, it's an early start because Durham's far. If you're driving in a car, it could take from London, it could take you, depending on how you drive. I don't recommend you speed, but I'll leave that there. Between, 4 or 5 hour drive. For those who like to speed a lot, maybe they could do it sooner. The train is about I think it's 3 hours. I can't remember off the top of my head. Yeah, I think it's about 3 hours. So it will be an early start. It will be like the train I think leaves at 7:30 or 20 past 7, something like 7. It's before 8 o'clock. It's definitely before 7:30 in the morning in King's Cross.
Wow.
That will be the meeting point. So we'll be meeting at King's Cross, and we'll be traveling up there together on the train.
How many nights? 1, 2 nights? How many nights?
It's just one night.
Okay, cool. It's about approximately 5 hours to drive up there.
Yeah, it's far. It's far.
Is that jacuzzi? What's that? What was that?
Now I must actually say the rooms that we're getting are they're basic rooms, but I've stayed with Radisson Blu a few times in different countries, and their rooms are a good standard. It's a 4-star hotel, so it's a good standard, and you're gonna have plenty of little amenities and stuff there.
And Durham and July should be warm.
Yes, it should be warm. And where the hotel's positioned is walking distance from the cathedral. So once you get off the train, everything is within walking distance. Nothing is far.
Wow, I like the design of this. I might have to. Right, so the cathedral here, and there's that bridge that looks like the Millennium Bridge. Okay, so walking distance. Okay.
Yeah, everything is within walking distance. So everything is close by.
So the Magna Carta was formulated there?
No, well, the thing about Durham and Durham Cathedral, they kept a lot of historical legal documents and acts there. So they have part of different parts of the UK historically, and some of them might have to go into more history, were almost like their own countries. So Cornwall is one of them.
Yeah, that's right.
Their own sovereign sort of nations. And so in different places they kept certain documents, and in Durham Cathedral they've got a few legal documents or a few laws on the original skins or the original parchments or the materials they were written on that have been kept there. So there's probably going to be some other interesting things we can view up there whilst we're in the museum.
This is very sexy indeed. I like the aesthetics of all of this. They want people to stay there for real. Okay, we've seen that one before. Yeah, that's so true, because York was once going to be the capital of Great Britain.
Yes, I believe that's right.
And then is it Chichester? These towns where you have churches and cathedrals were the place.
I know Chichester's like the capital of Sussex. That's where Sussex County Council and all those Sussex government buildings are.
I can imagine wintertime up there is freezing. Nah, son. But yes, July.
Yeah, hence July.
All right. Okay, it's not going further. Oh, yes. Oh, this is really, really, really nice. Presidential. Well.
Yeah, I mean, if somebody wants to upgrade to the presidential suite or anything like that, I have to contact them. I mean, it's just for one night, so I wouldn't recommend it. But you know what? If that's the standard you like to live by and you want the suite, by all means, have it.
You know what would have been good? Because they got conference rooms there. So it would have been good maybe for next time that when we go out there, we do a presentation in said hotel, as well as take a walk about. That, this is a very good thing.
Yes, but I'm really looking forward to it anyway. So if you are interested, please do let me know. And you can click on the link to book. You can also email me at info@pathwaytravel.co.uk. But I'll put all that in the chat, and then we can go from there.
I thought I said jollof rice for breakfast then for a second. Joseph's. The amazing thing that we serve in jollof rice. No, that's scones. And funny enough, you know, scones, you know, the origin of that as well. Scones and
What's
French.
the origin of the scones? Let me hear about it. Like I like them.
Oh, well, I like them too, to be honest, but I'm a bit lactose. I think it's the West African DNA in me.
Okay.
Is the French word for stone. And when you're coronating someone to become king or queen in this country, you have to get what's called the stone or the scone of destiny from Scotland. It comes all the way from Edinburgh to Westminster Abbey to be placed underneath the coronation chair. And that stone was one of the stones from Jacob's pillar, or Yaqub in Arabic and Hebrew, Jacob's pillar, which is Jacob of the Bible, which is the forerunner of Israel in the Bible, biblical terms now, I'm not talking about Israel as we know it today. So they took the stone, Memphis, from Jacob's building, Knights Templars, that is, Jack de Molay and, you know, the Knights Templars, Assassin's Creed, more for layman's terms for people that play games like that. And they took some of these sacred artifacts, this is, you know, and brought it to Scotland. And this is, see, the royal family is a long history of the royal family. Scotland was really named after a black woman, called a black woman.
Yeah, Scotia.
Scotia, exactly.
Was
And
she Egyptian?
She was Egyptian, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, Kemetician. She was from Kemet.
From Kemet.
Egypt. And the story is that in order to be a royal family, you have to be a royal bloodline anyway. And the bloodline is the original children of Israel. And this is another subject altogether, the Hebrew Israelite, Hebrew, which means to cross over the sea, over the water to land. That's the word Hebrew means in its root meaning. And so the royal family, the coat of arms, the term United Kingdom came from Egypt. It came from Africa because there was a time where the kingdom of Kemet, Egypt, was divided and there was civil war. And it was a pharaoh by the name of Akhenaten who united the kingdoms and called the term United Kingdom came from Egypt. In fact, the Red Cross, and I've got to show you an image of this, I'll do it in a moment. What you see as George's cross, the English flag, that came from Egypt. That originated from the pharaohs. Nothing is new under the sun, ladies and gentlemen, nothing. Absolutely
No, I agree.
You know, Man of the Covenant, Britain, you know, it was called Albion. It was ruled by a king called King Offa. It was once called Mercia. And then you had the different tribes of Europe, the Ostrogoths, the Visigoths, Anglo-Saxons, who came to what we call today England. It wasn't always called England. These are immigrants. To be English is an immigrant. you came here as a tribe, as a Viking, or as a Goth. The Goths are the French, the Franks, the Germans, excuse me. The word Germany, literally it means that, Germany, men of germs. The Vandals, this is where you get the word vandalism. Terms like hooligan. These are all tribes going around drinking blood. You know, the Scythians. This is where you get the myth of the vampire story. Or now you got Vlad the Impaler. All of that has an origin in European tribes. Europe was a tribe before it became a nation. It was a tribe. They were into tribal customs. Yeah. And you remember a book called Asterix the Gull? I don't know if anyone remembers that.
No.
Young man, Chuck. All right. So basically, Asterix the Gull was based off the tribe known as the Gauls, Gaul, who are based in France. I'll show you a quick image. Sorry, Fred. Sorry, Fred.
Is that where Asterix the cartoon comes from?
That's exactly what I'm talking about.
Oh yeah, I was watching that the other day, bringing back some memories from when I was young.
And you had the dude called Obelix, who had power, strength, you know. But all of this originates Asterix, the Gull. These are I used to read these things when I used to love reading.
Well, we used to read it in school.
Yeah. So these were the Germanic French tribes that roamed Europe. But we were here before because there was a tribe known as the Grimaldi, who were black people. who roamed in France, mostly in France. And then you have the tribe known as the Brownies. This is where you get the word brownie and Cub Scouts from. The Brownies were those brown-skinned people that lived here. This is where you get the word brownie. Huh? The Cubs, the Cub Scouts, the Twat, the Pygmies, the Dwarfs. Excuse me, I'm not criticizing people's people who are short. But they call them the Pygmies are the original leprechauns now. When I say leprechauns, the short. Oh yeah, 100%. We're going to go into the sinners. This is deep. The Irish, the Gaelic people. Listen, the original people. St. Patrick's Day is based off the original people that are chased out of Ireland. Ireland or Dublin. The word Dub means black. Lynn means a river.
That's why they eat black pudding, yeah? All right, blood, yeah. Makes
Slightly different reason why they do black pudding because that's. But the term Blackpool is Dublin. Dublin is where black people we used to live there. The kente cloth is where you get the kilts, the Scottish kilts. You know, when I went to the V&A Museum in Scotland, I found my mother's surname there. There were black people in the land.
Yes, they were.
Oh, you know, if you go to Scotland, right? Because me and my wife did this in Edinburgh and in Aberdeen. If you've got a Scottish family name, a clan name, you can go and find your tartan.
That's right.
Yes, every family has a tartan, has a pattern, has colours that you can go. And if you go in the proper tartan shops, they've got these books. They're very thick. There's like 3 or 4 of them with all these names. Sometimes there's a little bit of history about the name, about the clan, and then the tartan. And you have the normal tartan, you have the dress tartan, which you wear for special, and then you have the one, the dress tartan, the normal one, and the one for war. So you'll have 3 different variations of the same colors based on your clan name. So, and then you can buy the material, you can have a kilt made, a scarf made, or whatever. You can make whatever out of it if you buy the material. So it might be something nice you want to do.
Has anyone wondered why they speak with such accents? Like the Irish accent is very, you got the Cornwall accent, West Country accent, very similar to those in Barbados. Yeah, West Country. I see a man. I see a man drive a tractor. I see the boy. I see the boy go down.
Yeah, they talk very fast, don't they? Very fast.
The term Black Country, which is Dudley and Birmingham, Wolverhampton, right? Why is it called Black Country? People will say because of the coal mining, right? And the smog, the smoke. That's the reason why it's called the Black. But also, they were black people. Look at Tom Jones. Tom Jones, yeah, he's a Caucasian. But if you look at him properly, Tom Jones, he looks very much like a melanated man.
Yes, he does.
Shirley Bassey, Diamonds Are Forever, Forever.
Yes.
You know, the Welsh, if you look at them, their hair, their texture,
thick hair.
They look very much like they are of African stock. You know, Cheddar Man, 10,000 years ago. I'm going to show you a picture of Tom Jones, and he can sing.
Oh, yeah.
And even Muhammad Ali said that Tom Jones, he looked like a brother. Tom Jones, he looks like one of me. He looks like me. He looks like brothers, you know. You look at him. He looks like one of my peoples, them in yard, like light-skinned brothers. So, you are indigenous here. You're indigenous. You have rights. You have a claim of right here. Because there's many black people, indigenous, melanated people who are expelled from Scotland, from Ireland, in the 17th century. There's books called Irish and Blacks. They were here. We were here. So this whole Windrush nonsense, we didn't just come in for the Windrush. We were here long time ago. Queen Elizabeth I never called us niggers. She called us Moors. Queen Elizabeth I. By the way, Queen Elizabeth I, conjecture, this is my own conjecture, she had black in her. Her whole dress was developed by the Venetian Moors, who were black. They still want to deny the Moors were black. You got faces of Moors all over Europe with big nose and lips. Excuse me, normal noses and lips, not big noses, that's normal. Melanated people. So we have a grand history here. You got the Aurelian Moors, you got Carlisle. The word Carl means black. Carlisle. It's Scotland. Listen to me. This is another subject altogether. We had allegedly Dave come and do a breakdown of the Black King, King Charles, who was known as the Black Prince, Black Prince. We got a history here as well. We can't, yes, we have history in Africa, Caribbean, but we got history here. Just as Americans, Black Americans have a history in in America. Before slavery, the Gullah Geechee, the Native Americans were not necessarily Red Indians. The Red Indians were traveling over the Bering Straits of Alaska. You know, they are indigenous, but later on, the indigenous people were actually Black people that traveled into the Americas years ago. In fact, about it, they found residues of cocaine in some burial tombs in Kemet. Cocaine comes from the Americas. We were crossing the Atlantic for thousands of years ago. Thousands of years ago. How did Columbus get the map to travel from Spain to what was called West Indies? Because he went to go East India, but he went to West, the wrong direction. He got the map from the Moors. This is documented. This is not me making it up. Yeah, I'm not trying to say, oh yeah, you know, no.
Columbus, his voyage over there, that wasn't his first rodeo, and he never made it the first time.
There you go.
He got sent back because in the Atlantic Ocean there's currents, and there's currents in the water, and then there's winds in the air, and you got to know how to navigate the current so it doesn't lead you back to Africa.
Tell us, brother.
Back to Europe. So only the Moors knew how to navigate these currents to actually get over to the Americas. Why? Because they had been there before.
Now we have to look at the Treaty of Morocco. See, I was in Casablanca the other. When you look at the Treaty of Morocco between Morocco and America, ooh, another subject. I know this is Sister Love's subject. I know she likes this. The Treaty of Morocco, and the word Morocco is synonymous with the word Moor. Yeah, you listen. You gotta understand. Why do you have people in England called Roger Moore? Moore, the Moors of England, the Moors. Yeah, they know who they're talking about. They know who we are. The Moor murders. I know it's not the best thing to bring up, but the Moor murders, the Moors. And when you travel to Durham and you travel, observe the countryside, observe it, and take in the energy, and you're gonna feel something. I'm telling you. Yeah, I was blessed to do a tour the other year, and I found out all of this. Listen, it was Caucasian people that told me, do you know Scotland was named after a Black woman? And then the Aurelian Moors, you know, listen, man, there's so much. David McRitchie, who's an Irish historian, he can tell you about the Irish, the Black Irish. Let me just bring up the book real quick before we leave. David McRitchie, he speaks on this. You know, there's a Twa tribe here. This week, he goes into it in his book. Hold on. Let me just bring it up real quick. Oh, okay. Brilliant, brilliant historian. This is what the elites and the dons study. They don't tell you this, but this man here goes into, and look, when he was born and dead, these men study our history. Ancient and modern Britons. Hold on a minute. I thought there was only one type of Brit. By the way, if you checked out the spelling, Britain and Britons, two different words. This is something we will touch into one day, but the word Breton is what we should be describing ourselves as. You're not British, because the word ish, which is the suffix, which means you're kind of. You're not quite it. It's British.
People.
Huh?
Like them Jewish people.
Thank you. So then now, when you look at the word gypsy, you know the word gypsy comes from the word Egypt. You know, is it a coincidence that the gypsies were called travelers, and then you had to read cards, palms, auras, read into the future? The Wizard of Oz was a gypsy. Listen, the word, you got terms like Gypsy Hill. Gypsy Hill, which is in Crystal Palace. By the way, do you know there were some Black artifacts around there? The word Norwood comes from the word Noor, which is French for black. Noor, wood, Norwood, Gypsy Hill, Crystal Palace underneath.
I always thought Norwood was the derivative of the name of the forest that covered most of South London, called the Great North Wood.
But, yes, sir. But you see, you know, French and English. English is a bastardized language, which is from the French and the German and the Spanish. Most of the terms we use in English is French, like moustache, bouquet.
Yes, you're right. Yes.
Cul-de-sac, cafe. We're speaking French. We don't even realize we're speaking French. So that's
And
what they
then
put
when
in.
you go to France and you go in a bakery and you try and order something and they just look upon you.
Exactly. You know, you're a croissant. The word croissant is a moon. It's a moon.
It's croissant. It's croissant.
Croissant. And you know where the word croissant came from? Where it came from? The actual croissant.
It means crescent.
That's right. And the crescent is the moon, which they use to celebrate the defeat of the Moors, because the Muslim symbol is the crescent moon. So you have a croissant to eat to celebrate the defeat of the Moors. That's where it came from.
Yeah, so yam up your croissants, yeah? Go ahead.
Exactly. And the word, if anyone's got a second strawman name called Stuarts, the origin of the word Stuart means suave, which means brown and melanin. You see, this is a Caucasian man that wrote this. The Scottish gypsies under the Stuarts. The Stuarts were black people in Scotland. My mother has a Scottish name, and I found out the origin, as Fred said. I found the origin.
Yeah, I believe we come from there. And the gypsies, you notice that the system can't touch the gypsies. They can park up anywhere.
Thank you. See, do you know why? Now we know why.
Yeah, they used to try and keep us away from them, that they're breaking the law, but what really they were just living the law of the land.
Because they are a part, well, they are, don't want to use the word derivative because I don't want to be disrespectful, but they come from the indigenous people of Breton. And if you look at a lot of gypsy people, respectfully I say this.
Yeah, they got morals, man, because they're young, they got to get married young, no messing about.
Not only just the morals and traditions, look at their skin. Very suave, very dark. They tan very easy. Their language as well, the look. So they're inbred. I'm not going to disrespect and say that. But what I'm saying is they come from you and I. The gypsies comes from the word Egypt, the travelers. And you're right, they abide by common laws, the law of the land. And the government can't do nothing to them, nothing. They go by the law of the land. And in fact, when I love boxing, when I listen to, not Tyson Fury, the other dude, Tyson Fury is a gypsy. Forgot his name now. How could I forget his name? Billy Joe Saunders. He got stopped by the police. He's a boxer. And he used common law on them. They couldn't touch him. He said, I don't need this. He's a part of the gypsy community. It's deep, man. We got to get back to the land, back to the natural law, back to our rights. And that is a good segue to the film that I will be breaking down. I can't stop watching this film, man. I can't stop watching the movie Sinners, because the movie Sinners is giving us a warning and it's teaching us how who we are. Like,
no spoilers, please.
And I won't spoil it, I promise you. And the thing is about this movie, it behooves us all, please go and watch it, because there's so much science in this film for you and I. And the number one science, and I'm appealing to us now, I don't want us to get spooked out. The number one science, because we're talking about natural law, the gypsies that use certain magic, caravan, the magic, the service, all of that came from us. Magic and musician are one of the same word. It's the same thing. When you are a musician, you are a magician. When you are a magician, you are a musician. Yeah? Because you are dealing with sacred geometry. You're dealing with shapes. You're dealing with sounds. Literally with sound, you are moving people. You're moving people. That's why they call it the movies. You go to the movies to be moved. Cinematography or cinema, but movies. They termed it movies when E.T. came out and Star Wars in the 70s. Because it was moving people. So when we're watching the movies, you're under juju. Oh yes, I said it. You're under magic. But what kind of magic? Because now a lot of our Christian brothers and sisters, we might get a bit, obia and juju, you know. No, don't be scared of it. Because obia, juju, budum is what we need to get back to. And I'm not talking about cutting people's necks and pentagram. Forget the Hollywood film business. I'm talking about sacred, divine, natural law, like the Gypsy brothers and sisters. Sacred, divine, natural law, like your ancestors used in the Caribbean island of Jamaica. Did you know they outlawed obia in Jamaica in the 18th century? Oh God. There was a whole Obia Act in Jamaica. Did you know that, family? Did you know that? They wanted us to stop practicing natural, divine African spirituality. Did you know that? 100%. So when you watch this movie, when you watch Black Panther, which was created and written by, which was written by Ryan Coogler, he's putting certain things in the film to let us know. So you see the twins here, one with red, one with blue, balance, hot and cold. I'm not going to break it down now, but in the breakdown, I'm going to tell everyone why